Alright guys, today I want to take a little bit of time to talk about why I'm collecting for the 3DO. And I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably asking, why is he collecting for the 3DO? Wasn't that a terrible system that launched at way too high of a price? It was a letdown, there was no good game. Yes, I understand. There are a lot of reasons why the 3DO is not a great system. I think it's a pretty decent system. I'm not gonna defend it and say it's an amazing system, you're all missing out. But I want to explain why I'm collecting for it, because I think there are actually quite a few decent games if you're willing to look. And there are also a variety of other reasons that I think the 3DO is actually a really fun system to collect for. But before we get into that, I do want to mention that I was collecting for the Dreamcast. I wanted to get a full collection. That's what I was aiming for a while. But now that I'm getting into the 3DO, I've decided to put my Dreamcast complete collection on the back burner and focus more on 3DO games, mostly because the games for the 3DO are harder to find, and harder to find usually means more expensive, and in this case that is true. The 3DO games, while a lot of them are pretty common, you're going to be hard pressed to find one unless you go and get lots of games. It's going to be hard to get games for less than, I would say $5 to $10 a piece. That's why I'm doing this now, because I know that the games are only going to go up in price. The retro video game collecting scene is always growing. There's people joining all the time, and there's more people getting interested. So I'm sure the 3DO is actually going to become a pretty sought after system to collect for, just mainly because of its rarity. And the Dreamcast, it was much more common. It sold a lot better. The games are just easier to find. I've seen Dreamcast games everywhere. 3DO games, I barely see out in the wild. In fact, I can't even remember a time I saw a 3DO game in the wild, unless it was like a game made by the 3DO company for like the PC or something. Even at conventions, I've been to multiple PRGEs, I've been to multiple swap meets, I've been to Cowlitz. I just don't see 3DO games. So, and if they were there, I must have missed them. But yeah, they are hard to find. I might as well explain how I got into collecting for it. Really, I didn't know much about it for a very long time. In fact, for years collecting, I had never even heard of it, because most people just don't talk about it. It's not a system that most people bring up or collect for. I really didn't know much about it until I saw Adam Korlick's 5th Generation Console Recap series, where he basically explains every system that came out in the 5th gen, talks a little bit about them, the history, his thoughts, and shows some notable games for each system. And I saw his 3DO video, and I watched it once and I didn't really think much of it. He explained the system, but he didn't really show too many games, which isn't his fault. There aren't a ton of notable games on this system. But yeah, I didn't really get into it. But then I saw a GameSack's video of their 3DO episode, where they showed a ton of 3DO games, and some of them actually caught my eye. That's when I really started to get into it. Then I saw Pete Doerr's video on how there's games for everybody on the 3DO, which all are great videos. I will make links in the description for all of them, because I think you should watch all of them if you are interested in getting a 3DO system. So the reasons why I'm collecting for it, like I said, it's expensive, it's hard to find games. And one of the main reasons that is because a lot of the games, mostly toward the end of the console's life, came in these cardboard boxes. The earlier games actually came in these, I think these are much better designed boxes. They are cardboard as well, but they have plastic edges, and they also have a plastic clasp that opens up, and the trays for the games are all plastic as well. So these hold up much better, and it's very easy to find these. Basically, when you find one of these games, they're usually always going to have these plastic cases, because they just hold together well, and that's what people kept them in. But when they released these cardboard ones, as you can see, I'm going to pull the game out here. Inside the cardboard long box, they put jewel cases in. And this one actually, I pulled this one out because it actually has a spine label on it. So, to most people, this looks like a complete game. And most people, I'm assuming, did not care about these stupid cardboard long boxes when the system was, you know, still relevant. So I think a lot of people threw them out, and that's a shame because it makes it harder for everybody to try to collect these long box games that came in cardboard cases. And actually, I still see a lot of people on eBay advertise games in jewel cases like this as complete 3DO games. I think part of the confusion is that in Japan, this is how they were released, and they didn't even bother with the long boxes. Long boxes are more of a US thing anyway, because that's what CDs came in at that time. And yeah, so it's confusing, but yeah, basically the cardboard boxes make it hard to collect for. And to me, I want to have the long boxes because that's what the games originally came in. That's how they were packaged. And I honestly, I think they look cool. A lot of people hate on the long boxes, which I totally understand. They are absolutely ridiculous. In terms of practicality, there is like no reason. They're hard to store on shelves, a lot of people complain, which is understandable because a lot of shelves are not meant to have shelving this high. A lot of people have to like stack them like this, which I would not like. I totally understand, because then you have all the weight on these cardboard boxes especially. You know, I have adjustable shelves, so that's not a problem to me. I mean, I think these long boxes add to the charm of the system. I think it makes it an interesting system to collect for. The whole kind of vibe of the system, I guess, is just, you know, it's kind of quirky, and I like that about the system. And it's one of those things where people ask, you know, what is this? Because a lot of people don't see it, and they look at these long boxes and they think, oh, that's weird. And I just think that's funny. I just find that fascinating. So that's one of the main reasons. Also, guys, there are actually quite a few good games, like I said, on the system. Like the original Need for Speed, this game came out first on the 3DO. 3DO. Came out first on the 3DO. There are actually quite a few games that started on the 3DO. Gex started on the 3DO, which is a game I want to get later on. But a lot of people don't realize that because a lot of these games just got ported over to the Saturn and the PlayStation. If you guys want to play Need for Speed the way it was meant to be played originally, get the 3DO version. Might as well pull Road Rash back up. A lot of people consider this to be the best version of Road Rash, and I would say that's true. I've played PlayStation versions of it. You know, the Genesis version is only 16-bit, which I'm sure, you know, oh, it's not all about graphics, but I mean, in terms of Road Rash, I mean, the graphical upgrade is much welcomed. It's got CD quality sound that really enhances the game. And a lot of people, like I said, consider this to be the best port of Road Rash, and I would have to agree. Also, Killing Time. This is one of the more interesting games on the 3DO. It is a first-person shooter, which was not super common at the time. You know, now we think of first-person shooters like Call of Duty, Battlefield, you know, they're everywhere. People are sick. I'm sick out of my mind with it. I really like the earlier FPS games because they were more creative. You know, you look at Doom, and I still have fun with Doom. I'd play Doom any day over Call of Duty, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, Killing Time I think is a really interesting game. It was actually a Doom clone, but I like this game because level design, and you know, the whole production design of this game is really interesting. And one of the main features I like about this game, it's more of a gimmick, but the FMV cutscenes, you know, basically you're going through this mansion trying to figure out the whole mystery of this water clock. Basically, when you're exploring through this game, there's these certain parts of the map where these FMV cutscenes show up, but they play real time in the game. So you can walk around, you can do all that stuff while you're watching it, and it's just something I've never seen before. So I think it's really cool. It's a really unique game, and that's really why I like the 3DO a lot as well, is because there are a lot of just weird, quirky games that you can't really get anywhere else. And there's a lot of fascinating games. And I like it because, you know, this was like the early days of 3D in video games. You know, we had some games on the Super Nintendo and the Genesis that were 3D. You know, we had games on the 32X that were 3D, but I mean, not really all that many. And so when the 3DO came along, it was like one of the first, you know, consoles, home consoles, to have a lot of 3DO titles. And so publishers and developers were just trying to kind of wrap their minds around how 3D games were supposed to play and how they work. And it made for a lot of really interesting and weird games. And, you know, I enjoy weird games, and, you know, a lot of times the weirder ones do not hold up that well. They're usually not that good, but I don't mind playing you know, bad games every once in a while. I think it, you know, kind of adds charm to the system. So yeah, guys, that is really about it. I mean, I guess another notable thing is it has some of the best FMV games I've seen, like Wing Commander 3, that has actually really decent FMV cutscenes, like Hollywood caliber cutscenes with, you know, famous actors like Mark Hamill, Malcolm McDowell. I mean, you couldn't get anything like this on anything else at the time until they ported it over to the Saturn and the PlayStation, of course. But yeah, you know, there was a lot of games on the system that are interesting. There's a lot of really uncommon ones, and it's also just hard to collect for, which I think just gives it a challenge. You know, I'm not interested in collecting complete collections for consoles that are really not that hard to collect for. If you can go anywhere and get a game, and you know, it's like, what's the point, you know? So yeah, guys, I hope that shed some light on why I'm collecting for the system. I hope I got some of you guys interested in the system, and I'm enjoying collecting for it. I'm enjoying the games. For the most part, you know, there's some really bad ones that aren't worth playing. Yeah, I'm having fun with it, and yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I hope to see you all soon, and hope you enjoyed. Thanks, guys.